There's only one way around. Oh yeah. There's only one way. Only one way around.
That ending.
Red Rocker. Wow.
Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar. You know, that's like one of the greatest tunes ever, man.
That was a great one, man. You know, and all it does is reaffirm, what are you wasting your time, dude, with hanging out with us, man? You need to go on the road.
I need to take you along with me, man. That's how the deal's going to work.
You need to rock. The whole world needs to rock. You know, all this other stuff is just conversation. It's the music, man. That's what matters.
Rob can be the hype man, and Leonard takes the stage.
Wait a minute.
Actually, what I'm gonna be your manager, who then basically embezzles all your money, and then we're like, and then there's a documentary made about us years later about, you know, the superstar Leonard Lee, who's now living on the streets in poverty because his manager took all his money.
There you go.
It's like a good deal, eh?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We'll do it just because it makes for such a good story.
But don't we hear that story a lot?
Huh?
Don't we hear that story a lot about musicians and bands who are taken advantage of?
Yeah, it's pretty nutty. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Andreea. Hello, David. Man, we got everybody. This is awesome. You know,
I know we got our women of tech.
Women of tech.
Yes.
Representing. Yes.
I thought you guys were going to be at the DeFi conference or something instead, but I'm glad you're here.
Oh man.
I'm in Romania. So
wow.
Greetings from
do you live in a museum?
6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. in Romania. And there you go. Does that mean you're going to drive?
Museum, but I'm in another room, so
oh.
Are you going to drive to Barcelona?
Some furniture, bookcases. You see a rendition of my son holding a lightsaber.
Nice.
It's important to have a lightsaber.
In the dark side.
What was that?
It's important to everybody should have a lightsaber.
Oh yeah. We had many when he was growing up. Many.
And therefore, I have no choice. And for this reason, I'm going to have to get my lightsaber out.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There you go. I had a lightsaber growing up. It was called the stick. Oh, my God. That thing is huge, man. It's like a two-handed. It's been
a while. It's been a while, hasn't it, guys?
Claymore. Oh, my gosh. Everybody has one. Where's mine? Uh-oh. See, David's getting his.
Everyone's becoming an infant. This is like ridiculous.
You know what?
What's up with the freaking stone? You're like on a throne. What is that?
Adulthood is overrated.
Me?
Yeah, it's an incredible chair.
This is my kitchen table chairs.
Really? So you have, it's like Game of Thrones ish. That's pretty killer. Oh my God! Look at all these people.
Does it come with a giant turkey leg and everything?
Yes, Game of Thrones style.
Oh no! Look at these guys. Oh my!
Oh my God! You got your background blurred, David, so it's hard to see what you're showing.
We gotta fix it. I gotta fix it.
I want to see the full sword or whatever this is.
Ridiculous.
There we
go.
The sword episode.
It's the Mandalorian.
What's up?
Oh, the Mandalorian.
Geez. We have 9.
Wow.
Yes. And then when I play with it, then I have the foam roller so I could get the kinks out.
Yeah.
It's really the Geek Squad today.
Yes.
We are the Geek Squad. We just escaped from Best Buy. They let us out for a few minutes.
Well, you should have, talking about geeks, you should have seen me a couple days ago here in Romania.
Yeah.
Wearing my Apple Watch, which I got after Leonard got his. I just decided to get a new one because my old one wasn't working. And I thought, okay, I need to get back
Right.
to that. So I was wearing that on the left hand and then a Chinese watch that I bought here in Romania for my mom on my right hand. I have a picture of that with both of them and comparing heart rate, oxygen rate, blood pressure, steps, everything. I did that for a couple of days, both arms with watches.
Yeah.
So that's talking about, and the Chinese thing was so close. They were not identical, but like 97% oxygen on one, 98 on the other one, and super close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, how do you know Apple's was accurate and now the Chinese?
Exactly. No, exactly.
And
Yeah.
And did you have a balloon logo on the Chinese watch?
and of course I got out a blood pressure monitor and then has one and I double checked, so
I mean, how many of you totally saw the balloon during Rihanna's performance and just thought about that being the Chinese?
That was it. That was it. Can you believe that? Can you believe that she was on those platforms in the air like that? That was crazy.
Was she glued? My sister said it looked like her shoes were stuck to the platform.
I mean,
and I'm like, what? I'm like, now I want to zoom in and rewatch that.
That's pretty terrifying stuff to be up on those things, and to be pregnant and doing that at the same time.
But Rob, that's America. If you're a woman and you're pregnant, you still have to go to work.
Oh.
Whoa.
Yes.
It's true.
Well, we better head back to the Dominican
till
Republic.
the last minute. Till the last minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, the night I gave birth in like at 1 a.m. and at 8 a.m. I was supposed to lead a workshop with a customer.
Well, I did a conference call like the day of my, I gave birth. That afternoon I did a conference call from the hospital room.
Well, I was in a meeting. I was in a meeting the whole time right before my daughter was born.
The only reason I could not lead that workshop, it was a workshop with AT&T.
Oh, really?
2002. And it was on a workshop on implementing the layered architecture. You remember, when IETF came up with the layered architecture with gateways and servers, the split architecture, and it was about implementing that for circuit switch voice. And I was the lead on that. And the only reason I actually could not do the workshop from my bed is I had a C-section like at 2 a.m. or so. So I was not in good shape. I was just really dizzy. So I woke up and I called my customer like 7:30 and said, I can't do this. I just gave birth.
Wow.
There you go. That's America.
No, look, it sounds so insane because if we just go to Europe or Canada, you two would not have had the same experience. You would have had some rest and bond. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Bill. I was there. I was present, but I was napping because I was not necessitated. My wife was surrounded by a bunch of medical professionals, and I was just there. Like, when does the thing come out? All right, here we go.
We were watching football.
We were really fancy. We had a suite which had an adjoining like living room, and so my husband had his own room, and so he would get like really tired and then close the door and then take a nap, and I would just be so furious because he was
he was really tired.
Yeah.
He was really tired. Contractions were coming every 10 seconds, and it was wearing him out. And the Pitocin got to him, and he's like, "Man, I got to take a nap. I don't know what you're going through, but it's not nearly as bad as what I'm going through. I need a nap."
I know he couldn't sleep that night because Stephanie was in the other room yelling, "You did this to me!"
I never felt labor pains. I was good.
Are you serious?
Rob, I got the Pitocin when they said, scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain? You're supposed to lie. So I lied, and I got it early, and I was just chilling until.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Hey, not me.
No pain.
High risk C-section.
Wow.
Yeah.
Super high risk C-section and, high risk following.
Well, this is the furthest we've gone from IoT.
I was going to
I can tie it. I can tie it back.
Tie it together.
So I just
tie it.
I just read about a machine vision application a woman did on her PhD for epidural needle placement, because apparently there's a lot of issues with epidurals and they had a lot of problems with it.
Oh yeah.
So she went. She works at Amazon now doing Alexa AI stuff. But I just thought that was such a clever implementation for machine vision, so that they can get accurate placement, and then you have less people having birth complications.
Is it because because they're literally telling you don't move when they put that needle in because it's right in your spine. Mm-hmm. It was the camera to like just completely like identifying the perfect spot in between the vertebrae.
And you see a red point there.
Yeah, I think I didn't read the details on it. I just thought like the application, it was a bigger write up, but I thought it was so clever to take a problem like that and to apply machine vision. But yeah, they said it was to do with the needle placement and then accuracy of it. So
and Ryan, that has a great business case, because if mistakes are made during an epidural, the patient in question can lose movements in bunch of limbs or lower back. So it's super cool that something is being done to increase the accuracy of that procedure. Saves a lot of money on lawsuits and personal pain for the patient.
Yeah. Women have a lot of side effects from epidural in your back. You may be 3-4 months later and your back's still hurting as a result. So yeah, I can see where that come in handy.
It's interesting. What I learned in Germany is that if the epidural costs like 500 euros, so they had bonus if they can save money, if the nurses and doctors can save money. Mm-hmm. For every birth. So so most of my friends didn't didn't arrive on time for the epidural, and then you realize that probably the doctors and nurses get a nice bonus, at the end of the year, because they saved a lot of money.
Well, that if it's 500 euros, it has to be $50,000 your firstborn and 2 car payments here.
Yep.
That's pretty much a conversion rate when it comes to medical treatment. Yeah.
Pretty much.
By the way, the American Telemedicine Association, they're having their annual conference in San Antonio, Texas, the first weekend of March. So I'm going to go attend that, and maybe I'll pick up and learn some new things that they're doing in IoT.
Please, then. I'd love to talk to you about that before you go. I know you asked me if I'm going, and I'm in Romania, so I can't go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll chat.
So, hey, it looks like Microsoft killed off their industrial metaverse group and a bunch of other stuff. I don't think people realize that, because you were talking about going to some DAO or DeFi thing, Rob. I mean, this stuff is so distracting. It's not even funny, right? And it's just kind of sad to see these big brands just, we kind of called it like it was almost I don't know, 6-7 months ago?
Early July
last year. Don't tear down Web3, man. Don't tear down Web3
I remember exactly when we talked about Microsoft's industrial metaverse. It was in early July.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know how constructive
I think Rick killed it. He was on Clubhouse with Satya. He told him what he thought about it, and next day, boom, that project got killed.
Boom.
Yeah,
more or less. Yeah, this is the story. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Well, Watson got killed off as well, right?
Yeah, but they called it industrial metaverse.
Just because there's a reason why Watson was already dead on arrival. The advertisements made you think that Watson was some kind of AI from the future, but all the people I knew at IBM said it was a bunch of BS. It didn't really work.
It was a bunch of guys with Encyclopedia Britannica trying to win at Jeopardy.
Yeah,
it was actually the intro to Chat GPT.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
No,
maybe
I remember when that team disbanded because a lot of the folks that we would get briefings from those guys, they just like disappeared. So I was like, hey, what happened? It was like 4 years ago, though. I remember us talking about that maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I remember one of those guys, he was some executive from the Wattsman AI thing and joined our group at Hitachi late in the game. And yeah, he said it was all fantasy.
Paper.
They couldn't get it to work. Yeah.
But it was around for a long time, wasn't it?
The television commercials were definitely around for a long time.
Yeah, for sure.
You're right.
At least a few years. You saw the marketing and hype around it.
Somehow I remember that from 2009. I don't know why 2009 is in my head.
Well, they were well, it was like anything. They're being super specific. They're kind of taking you on that journey from Deep Blue, beating Gary Kasparov in chess, and then saying, "Hey, now we're going to use this for everything, and you're going to use it for every use case, and it's going to be magic." Kind of like what people are saying today with Chat GPT on Bing. Somehow, like that's going to be magical. So, I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think I joined IoT baby and drug talk today, so I don't know what to say.
Yes. Are you at a conference, Steve?
I am at IoT Evolution in lovely Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
I love it.
Great.
I love it. Fort Lauderdale.
I attended something virtually this morning that T-Mobile was talking about some of the things that they're doing in that space.
Yeah, Annette was doing that this morning. So she's on a panel with me this afternoon on IoT mobile and what Helium is doing. But
so what's evolution of IoT?
It's a trade show. You know what? I have no idea, Mark. I'm so freaking confused. I have no idea. The subject matter has been like all over the damn place. So, it's very confusing between they're talking 6G and 5G and IoT around 5G. And then they're talking about edge computing. And then they're talking about, it is.
Yeah,
chaotic. It's chaotic. It's like as much crap as you can throw into, 1 day of sessions. It's what it is. So,
IoT Solutions World Congress in Barcelona was all about Industry 5.0.
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that Ken Forster's thing over at Momenta Partners and the EU doing their Industry 5.0?
Maybe, but a lot of people was talking about Industry 5.0.
You know what I find? There's too many people talking about the aspirational end state or the vision. That stuff is so friggin' easy to talk about.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
As opposed to the aspirational now state.
Yeah, well, no, it's like, how the friggin' hell do you get there?
With money,
Yeah, and then with every company that has a very unique environment, very unique situation, requirements. How does any of this crap mean anything to them? And that's why, I got like a friggin' invite to a 6G monetization session, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
What the hell? We're still struggling with 5G, and now they're like, it's just,
even with 4G.
There's no accountability on that, right?
Huh?
Right.
Well, if you get enough attendees to those events, that's how you monetize it.
The target audience is completely different, right? The target audience,
ridiculous crap.
Yeah,
it's becoming silly. It's just that's why I think I get triggered a lot.
I think it's becoming so exhausting that it's like tainting the industry. You saw that Enterprise IoT what is it? Enterprise Insights or IoT Insights? They're closing.
Yeah,
Enterprise IoT.
They're closing down their media kind of coverage in that space. I think there's a lot of things that have just exhausted their. We're all exhausted from hearing about it and not seeing it. But there are companies that are doing it. It's just we don't hear as much about that. We hear more about the hype.
Yeah,
that's why.
And why is that? Why is that, Stephanie?
It's a branding, it's a marketing thing, and they're always 3-4 years ahead of the game, and they'll spend so much money doing that as opposed to execution and all the things that are required on the back end. I think there's just so much money being thrown on the marketing side of it.
Yeah.
And that's
another thing is, if you grab, I don't know, say like the top selling gas station where you live, just to go from side to side, it's going to be super simple. Who sold the most gallons, and it's simple numbers, simple to understand, no hype. But on things IoT and 5G and private and whatever, it's not that there aren't deployments. It's not that there aren't customers. It's not that there aren't any people who are benefiting from this. But it's really tough for you to tell a story when, if you say 5G, there's a lot of moving parts. It's like, okay, so who's going to take the credit? Does the SI take the credit? Does the OEM take the credit? Does the team that did deployment take the credit? Does the managed service provider take the credit? Like, who's going to say?
Yes, all of them.
For brand X, and and production is up 10%, and predictive maintenance is up 80%, and they're saving $1 million a month. Who takes the credit? And that's another challenge that doesn't really help. And honestly, once the customer sees the benefit, they're like, dude, this is great, and we'll keep paying, and here's your money. This is great, but I'm not doing a press release because I'm not in the business of doing press releases. I got to get back to work. Thank you very much. Right. And I'm on the maintenance contract.
Well, I would say the other thing would be is, from a public company perspective, we have long in the traditional IT telecom side Wall Street has demanded metrics, not only metrics in terms of number of subscribers, but what are you making on those subscribers? And we don't see that with IoT. We see some numbers here and there, connection, data, metrics out there, but no one's sharing the monetization side or what they're making with these customers. And so that data is all hidden, but I think that Wall Street's they've become very intelligent around that. And they're like, I don't know who's holding whose feet to the fire, but if I was a company that had an IoT division or whatever it's called, I would want to, if I had great metrics, I would want to be sharing those metrics, but that doesn't happen on the public side. In small, private, fast-growing companies, they'll share about their customer announcements all day, and they're very, very good at showing the metrics and the ROI and showing some of these numbers. I just think some of that stuff is just so cryptic and hidden, and we've been talking about this for so long, is that so many of these use cases are more on a trial basis. There's no money being exchanged, and so they don't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, many who have, many divisions of business. IoT is just a small one. Many that may not even know what they're making on IoT, because they have to pay. They have to pay so many entities. It could be like, are we really making 10 cents, or is it more like 90 cents?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And the bigger the telco, the less visibility you have down at the unit. Because like, hey, I'm the module guy. I approved it. It's out there. Hey, I'm this guy. I approve. And yeah, by the time you have, we sold 1 million connections to an OEM. They're going to deploy 1 million over the next 25 years. It's 12 cents per connection, and we have a team of 79 people, 40 of which are senior. Are we making money?
That's true.
That's it. I'm doing this afternoon a 2.5 hour block on LoRaWAN. And if you wanted to speak on the panels this afternoon, you had to bring a use case with a live customer and tell us how you brought it to market. Because I'm so sick of this crap of these people talking about foo-foo stuff that doesn't exist and is not. Yeah, exactly, Mark. They're talking crap. They're just unbelievable, and I can't do it anymore. I gotta have it. So everybody has to come with live customers to talk about live deployments and what the hell problem they're solving and what's the ROI and how much money is involved and where is the money and how are they making money, because I don't want to hear about this crap anymore. I really don't. It's exhausting because many of us are entrepreneurs that are trying to make money, and we don't have the luxury of working for companies where they are paying 7,900 people and making 12 cents. I mean, we just don't have that luxury.
You have hype fatigue. Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of us do. And something struck with that Stephanie mentioned earlier. Everyone's kind of focused on that kind of new technology, VR, multiverse. We'll insert that kind of trending term here. And then they're not really focusing on the back end and the actual framework to make it scalable and repeatable. Every time I hear about a new IoT technology, I think, okay, what is this going to replace? How are you accessing that data? And then are you generating it with a sensor network yourself? Okay, that's going to be a lot easier than probably trying to pull it from the legacy equipment on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But every AI ML company I talk to, especially in the industrial space, I go, okay, how are you getting your data? And then how are you going to talk to all the other devices on the network? And if they don't have a really clear answer on that, if they start saying things like, oh, we wrote our own Modbus driver, or we have a company that does that for us, we know a guy, I start to get really nervous, right? Because if you don't have a very clear data acquisition strategy with minimal non-recoverable engineering in it, you're really going to struggle scaling anything and making money out there. So everyone's all focused on this front end. Hey, look at this cool new VR headset that we're doing work with. Okay, are you paying a whole team of developers in-house to build these worlds for them to walk around in? Because I think that the applications and use cases for those are going to be kind of limited. So I don't see enough on the execution side, like Stephanie mentioned, the kind of back end, the architecture.
But Ryan, we're device agnostic and have an open platform. We can talk to anything. Trust me.
I got one of those. Yeah.
We got a guy. We got a guy.
Well, people don't like to talk about that, and especially marketing folks. They have to go and grab an expert.
I created.
But wasn't that like the whole idea? I mean, from the time that I heard either, what they were going to do with data on the utility side or whether it was smart city, right? Smart city, that's what they were saying at the very beginning. It's like, oh my God, these cities have so much data and they don't know what to do with it. They jump in and 3 years later, they're like, okay, what you really need is my new device. And I'm going to take my own data and I need to get data over here, right? It's that, but what happened to the existing data? What happened with doing something with their existing data? What happened to turning that into a value that's either operational efficiency or something else for the citizens?
Yeah. Why do you need these? It's smart, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think the other issue that I see that continues to pile on is there's a lot of quote unquote out of the box or one fits, some kind of solution that says as a service, I'm going to purchase this. But I've been talking to a lot of customers, and what we're finding out is that a lot of these customers end up searching for a solution that fits something custom that they need done. For example, one of the companies that I talked to, they're a finance company, and they have all of these real estate companies that they manage properties with. Now, they've gone to Salesforce.com. They've gone to every CRM system out there, but they can't find anyone that can provide them the solution to manage and track the metrics per vendor, per SLA. And so it's like if you get too many multiple layers into their data analytics or data requirements, it's not out of the box. It's always custom. And then they end up trialing it and testing it out, and then they never use it again because it's not meeting their needs. So I'm like, are there some things that from a solutions portfolio perspective that we're missing with these large enterprises because we're trying to create something for them and we end up having to do a lot of custom integration, and these SIs are just hungry for that.
No.
And they're ready to step in and take all the money away from the vendor who came up with all of the original solution.
But that's 99% of all situations. You have to do something. You're never going to find a perfect environment for whatever it is that you, as a vendor, especially connectivity and hardware, imagine for your stuff. So the role of the SI is really important. And they're really the question you asked is like, well, before, who gets the credit for the result to the customer? The end market value is the SI. The customer doesn't give a crap about the connectivity or the devices. That's all those are enablers.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not the solution. And you haven't gone through the process of plowing through all the crap between the technology and the actual solution. I think that's where the discourse in IoT completely falls apart, because nobody, if you're a developer and you're just coding crap and you don't work out in the field, that's a huge, chasm you have to cross. And not a lot of them have done that. And, and so when we talked to, what's his name? Our friend from Nexiona.
Jaume Rey.
Yeah. Jaume. Yeah, that dude. That's why he got so excited. And that's why things started to work for them, because they actually started delivering value and they can charge for it. It's not just a bunch of widgets waiting for someone to come by and then actually apply them. But that's a sad reality. And
they didn't want to be a consultant, but they had to become consultants. To be successful. Yeah.
But isn't that sales engineering?
Yeah.
So sales engineering to support the SIs, right? But the SI is going to put the big picture together. That's sort of how it has worked and is going to work going forward.
I really liked that episode of Coffee Talk with him.
Yeah.
That was a good one. It was so many people built so much tech and said, here you go, customer. It's easy, self-service, do it. And they don't do it. Or maybe they're busy doing their day job. And then you said, well, here's some SIs you could call.
Well,
sometimes you just got to say, here's the tech and here we come and we're going to hold your hand and we're going to do it for you. Just like I hear people say, I'm tired of these IoT platforms deriving insights so that I can make a decision. I want it to just do it for me. Just do it. Your tech, just do it. Rob, you make the
decision. You're spot on. And I think, as usual, because you did invent the internet with Al Gore, but we already know that. Another gap is that as, if I were to call myself a sales engineer, and so one side I have this solution is that could quasi work if there was an SI, right? Back to Leonard's point, I think the SI makes a lot of sense. Part of the gaps is that that person in the middle might not understand that the end customer started a journey with a solution provider making promises. But that journey won't be completed until an SI really takes it and executes and brings value. And if that person in between those worlds doesn't articulate to the customer or explain to the customer, you know what? You don't have a resource here at your company that knows the company and can deal with the SI. Could that be me? I literally just had this conversation with a system integrator of private networks and an OEM of autonomous vehicles. And I think there's a big match, but going through it with a couple of folks, we realized there's no one in the middle to traverse both worlds, because the OEM, they want to focus on the product. They don't want to become IT people. And the SI, they want to be, SI consultants. And so, this is, this is another place to highlight, the value of having, the right organizational mindset and the value ultimately of consultants. Like, get someone with a contract in here for, 3 to 4 months and execute. And then, the contract is done and life is good. But not too many people do that.
That's really, I mean, been in the past when you think about traditional IT, the role of the VAR, the value-added reseller, they definitely were more involved in hand-holding, executing, and being a partner. And that's especially more the case mid-market, right, or large mid-sized companies. But as you move to the enterprise, those systems integrators are just vital to executing throughout usually they're multinational corporations that have multiple locations. They require a lot more. And so those SIs step in. But I wonder if we think about the VARs that are out there, because I do know some IoT VARs that are doing big things. I'm wondering if there's just more opportunity out there for them to move a little bit down market and go into that executing side of.
It's interesting you say that, Stephanie, because yesterday in my keynote, because this show is also tied to IT Expo and MSP show. And one of the questions I got from the audience was around MSPs and their capabilities of being able to do IoT and actually deploy successfully. And I'm afraid they don't have the capabilities to do it because they're an SD-WAN company or they're doing something similar, from that side of it. And it's very, very difficult for them. But, I always have said, and I said this yesterday on the speech, was if we could find more SMB mid-market IoT SIs, we would have a different industry because there needs to be a single throat to choke with companies that have the ability to deliver for customers, solve their problems, put it all together. And we don't have a stable of those kinds of groups. We have pieces, but not a stable of them.
But let's do some design fiction here. So let's think in 20, 30 years from here, if we compare it with the web. So we had these SIs from that were web developers for small, medium companies and for big companies. So can we compare this with IoT in 20 years? So are we going to see like a lot of system integrators now coming, but at some point the technology will have something that it will make these system integrators not needed, or that granularity of
but Mark, are we talking about IoT in a box again, where somebody can actually buy this in a box and deploy it out of a box? And we've tried that; it doesn't work.
Well, here's I'll add a comment, in the middle. But if you grab your traditional MSP. Or CSP team that deal with professional services in the IT realm, something that we have proven that doesn't freaking work.
Exactly.
Grab that bench and try to make them IoT, because when I read the contract, it's like, router could be a gateway. This service could manage that. IP is IP. And next thing you know, you're delivering a statement of work that is very traditional enterprise IT centric, and you try to do IoT with it. The customer signs that contract, and then the bench goes like, dude, that's not what we do. What are we doing?
And and that is a huge issue, David. I mean, it is the perception that these IT / SD-WAN telecom VARs can do this, and they just don't understand the nuances that we have to deal with. And it's hard to train them. It's hard to talk to them. And I spend a fair amount of time on a yearly basis, and Stephanie knows this from all the crap that I've done, trying to get these VARs and MSPs to go over to the dark side of IoT. I tried in the old days to get them to sell Blackberries. They couldn't even figure that crap out, let alone IoT.
Hey, this is awesome. I'm so glad we're talking about consulting firms and SIs, because the quote of the week on LinkedIn regarding all this kind of stuff is right here. Is that awesome or what?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
Boom.
Brochuremanship, folks. Brochure.
There you go.
Wow. But we all knew this, right? This is not a
not too
breaking news, right?
It's good to see someone
put it out there.
viral.
You know what? But I guarantee you, we influence that in some.
No, but just get the timeline on your LinkedIn. The next quote probably below it's nobody gets fired to hire at McKinsey.
Yeah.
You're right.
We just said that last week with IBM, or fill in the blank. Like we just
fill in
said.
the blank, man.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it's crazy because even the most basic technology industries that I've covered, I have companies like McKinsey, Bain, Altman Valindre, a whole host of others that come to me. They outsource things to me, and I don't know if they actually source me. Don't know. I usually require that in my contracts, but there's no way of knowing. But those guys generally will go and find out who's an expert if they don't have them on staff, and people that know what they're talking about, they will hire them. And you charge out the wahoo with those guys, and then who knows what if they're keeping just their McKinsey brand or whatever brand on there, or if they're sourcing you or not. You don't know that, and so that happens a lot.
Favorite thing is when the senior folks at these firms come in, sign the contract, shake hands, and on day 2, you get the interns to show up. And then,
do you know what?
Interns, they're going to locate the talent inside the company in question to ask them questions that they should effing know. Anyway,
at $500 an hour, by the way.
If you're lucky. Yes.
But this is like the lawyers, right? Lawyers do the same.
Thanks, guys. I've got an opinion on this because this is effectively my business in a way, right? So we pick up a lot of work from the SIs because, like you've just said, David, it's the brand, but it's not necessarily the person, right? And the brand and the perceived reputation of the brand goes and wins the work, but really sometimes they don't know what they're doing, or they outsource it to the IoT recruitment firm to go and find contractors to then white label and then bring back in, and you're paying twice for the same work, right? And it's crazy, and we see it all the time. The SIs come to us, they use us to get folks to win work and badge them up. And I won't name any names because this is going to go out there. But we get it all the time. So, but I think it's important sometimes to know that, the SIs have their place, right? It's the opportunity cost to try and staff people, to get them to integrate this, to get it to work. And sometimes you might just want to outsource that. You want to give that to someone at a fixed cost and build that in to the cost of doing a sale, right? But it's who you get and the people that actually do the work. And everyone's got that horror story of, right, the $1,000 a day, and you get the 20 grand intern that does it, who's on YouTube trying to figure out how to make it work, right?
We're not talking we're not necessarily talking about, I don't think, the SI. The SI, the thing you have to respect about them is they're going to have to deliver. They're on the hook.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. So what? At least someone is.
High-level crap, they're not on the hook. Usually what they do is they create some sort of, outline, high-level outline that's usually based on a lot of, quite honestly, nonsense. Then what they do is they work with the executive teams to set certain types of expectations, put up some big numbers on, transformation value. And then it's the SI that has to deliver. They get hired to deliver against that. And then what inevitably happens is there is major disappointment because all the fluffy stuff ends up being unrealistic. And when you get into implementation, what they haven't done is an assessment about the ground truth. What are we going to have to deal with in order to actually deliver a solution? And when you look at the backgrounds, and this is something I encourage every enterprise to do. Look at the background of the people that they're bringing onto the team. If they have just because they have a PhD doesn't mean anything. Have you been in the field? Did you build something?
How many units have you deployed?
Yeah, you really don't have anything to say. And so unless there's this feedback to the SI who's going to be on account and is going to get all the, quite literally, the crap for the project failing, it's gonna. There's a high probability that your digital transformation is gonna be jacked up. And I've seen that happen so many times. I've been in the trenches with these guys so many times. The politics is through the roof. It's ridiculous because there's so much ass covering that's happening from strategy down to execution. It's like, oh, you really wait, data migration 1 week? Who told you that? Oh, by the way, you know that there are these regulations in this industry that prevent you from just transferring crap over, over the internet. You actually have to deliver the data physically.
Yeah. Another example I saw was a very large U.S. carrier that spent billions to hire a big, SI, big integrator, big agency, and they had a whole team. And in the end, they end up hiring the majority of that team from that SI to come in and run everything, because as much as they went through that whole process, they did not have the talent in-house or the folks in-house or the resources in-house to not only just execute and get everything set up, but to keep running the operational side of it. So they end up having to hire all of those folks that came in and consulted on those projects. So, and that happens too. So it's just crazy. I think sometimes it's also the resources of that original vendor or OEM or carrier, or whoever it is. They don't have the team in place or the resources in place to continue the operational side of it.
That's you also have, Stephanie. That's also like a strategic, short-termism, because if that senior person that got approval to bring that SI and that team and ultimately made the decision to bring these people on board, it's like, dude, where were your cojones to just ask for headcount, build a new business unit against the same business plan, search and hire the people and get it? Now, of course, if timing was an issue, okay, it makes sense. There's always that. But, in a big company, you can pick whatever you want to pick. Like, things are going to move slow, whether you're hiring for it or you're farming it out. Like, nothing just transforms, anyway.
But, in smaller companies like regional carriers, let's say, they can't afford personnel, right, to run it. Large companies obviously do, but they move slowly. But if you look, if you take a kind of step back and you look at the phase when they're hiring, when they're about to hire a system integrator, does the company have the competence to make the right decision to hire? This is where, I've had concerns in the past where we had, in the field I worked, we had customers who said, oh yeah, we're going to hire our system integrator. Don't worry about that. And we're just going to ask you, your company, to work with them, and said, okay, yeah, we'll collaborate, of course. But collaboration, definition is in the eye of the beholder, right? What does that mean? But also I questioned numerous times the readiness and the competence of my customer to hire the right people, right? That's key as well. Before you even run anything, forget running.
Yeah.
Now, Tom's the expert there. We'd love your perspective because you see this every day.
Well, I do. Do you know what? I think you made a point, Steph, around having to hire some of the SI staff. We're trying to bring them on board because effectively they're over a barrel, right? Because they're the only people that know how the program works, because they built it, they designed it, they ran it, they implemented it. So for me, I always try, and when I consult with businesses and when I teach my guys, is to say, as part of the requirements analysis, actually building a handover, right? So part of the SI, their task, part of the statement of work should be to hand over to staff at some point when it's required, right? Because unless you do that, then the incumbent's with them and they're going to keep charging more and more money. The other issue is, of course, when it comes to having people that work on the project, you can also build in right to hire, right to transfer quite easily. So what we do, we don't care, right? If we've got people working on a project and we've enabled those people to go on site, we'll let them transfer because we'll win another project with that customer later down the line. And that's our kind of MO, whereas other SIs won't. They just won't let you have those people. They won't let you transfer it. They've got you over a barrel and you're doing it through gritted teeth. But I think there's an educational point here, right? Andreea mentioned as well, how you qualify that person. What did you do? Not what did the project and the company did, right? What did you do? I want to know what you did, because Otherwise, you're buying on the brand, the reputation, and sometimes the case studies are like, fictional as well, right? Sometimes, how do you know that case study is actually what it is? So, so in short, deep qualification of it and build it in really early because you know you're going to move it over at some point. So just make sure you're not being put in a corner over it.
In
other words, it's tough.
It's a good exercise of doing the maturity model with the customer. It's like, you think you're here. You're nowhere near there. You're over here.
Yeah.
So now that we're being honest with each other, there's all these things that need to be in place before you move forward. And if you don't have the team, the team with the right background, like, just don't bother, because this is going to be an exercise in futility.
Yeah, and there's a lot of OJT that happens. I mean, that's the reality, especially with the big SIs. A lot of on the job training, but their whole model is they're going to have some senior practitioners who are coaching them along the way. But I mean, that's kind of fair. I mean, there's a lot of money into getting them certified and all that stuff. And, large engagements are very, very difficult. And managing the people side of things, even as a SI, is challenging. And so now the problems that you guys are talking about that characterize SIs as being like a part of the problem is, in my experience, a lot of it has been on the sales end of things, where the sales guy ends up selling something that the team can't deliver on. And
Totally.
it happens all the friggin' time. And that's where SIs get into trouble. And that's an entirely different variety of problems. But if you look at the how expectations are set and from the top, and how they impact what is actually possible in terms of value delivery when it gets down to execution, that the problems in that stack are the things that a lot of enterprises really need to be conscious of and address. Because starting from the strategy guys that come up with the high level stuff, you have to filter and get down to, number one, a good view of the ground truth, whether it's people in your own team, like what you're saying, Andreea, the people on the SI organization who are delivering. Make sure that you have people who can collectively work together and execute and become a great team, right? Or even a good team, and minimize the risk, because the risk's always going to be there. And those are the types of things that, I mean, it's like literally a bunch of filters. So at the top, you start off with a bunch of, a lot of kumbaya, high level, kind of aspirational junk. And then you have to filter it down to what's actually possible. And it tends to be a lot less than what you started off with at the top of the funnel.
Is anyone going to defend the salespeople? I mean, okay, I'll do it.
You do it.
Anyone going to do what? Defend
the salespeople. Because
I was one of them at times. Yeah.
There's stretch goals, built into this thing that I sold.
Yeah.
I want my team to get better and, develop a little bit, beyond capabilities. But here's the kicker. Once the statement of work is written, the client is not going to read it anyway. So that stuff that I promised, it's not in the statement of work anyway. So we're just going to work for what's on the paper, and we shall deliver. Leave the salespeople out of it.
They will only look at that SOW when you don't meet their SLA or something that's off.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
No, there. I mean, hey, there's good salespeople, and there's ones that are just chasing numbers, and they don't.
And here's the thing, and this is something that what's the right word? There were battles about this. Competence, expertise is key, even for the salespeople that make SI sales. Right? Because when you say, I sell SI because I like to deal with multiple groups, with multiple organizations. I'm comfortable dealing outside the company I work for, right? So I like to do this, but I've got to understand what I'm selling to, and I've got to call BS when I get a statement of work put together with the help of the SIs, right, or with the help of my internal resources, I've got to understand. It's not a matter of understanding as a salesperson, well, does it take 5 hours to do this, or does it take 7 hours or 8 hours? Not that granularity, but there's an intelligence there, and there's a finesse that you have to have. And I've had arguments about this many times where people say, no, the salespeople don't need to know so much or need to understand so much. I still beg to differ, right, that they do.
But something that they need is a course of learning to say no.
For sure.
Okay, sometimes it's good. So I'm super impressed by customer success team at Balena. They say, no, we don't do this. Sorry.
Exactly.
To find someone else.
Yeah.
And this is like, wow, amazing. At every company I was before, it was like, yeah, we don't do this now, but we can do it for you. And I think this is an error. And I think more and more companies should, or business developers should learn, or salespeople should learn to say no.
And it's learn to say no. They got to understand that, right? Because they got to represent that no and back that no.
Oh, yeah. No, I
of course,
totally agree with
and to your comment about finesse, you could say no with finesse, because if you're looking after the customer, and there's this thing that they want to do that just doesn't fit within your delivery model, you can explain why you're saying no to that particular piece in a respectful way with lots of finesse that still lets you grab the rest of the work. And if it's really important, then hey, you know what? This could be another phase. Or I'll assign another resource, and we'll find someone to do this thing that we don't do. But let's just be super clear about it. But those are to Leonard's point, that's what a great salesperson that is listening and is listening with intent to understand, not listening with intent to just say something else.
Close the sale.
Yeah. So
I think there's a balance. David, Mark, I completely agree. Right, a no today saves a sorry tomorrow. Right, but I think there's a balance to be made. You can stretch it a little bit, but not too much. And I think it's always good to have that stretch goals, as you were saying, David. Right, but don't chew off more than you can take on, because reputationally you'll lose it immediately. And I think more salespeople need to be appreciative of that, but they need to understand it. They need to have more than a modicum of interest in actually what they're doing be able to say no, right?
I mean, we lost Ryan, but this would be a great time to ask him. How many organizations actually have the sales element work really closely to understand the delivery elements from a technical, from a resource perspective? Because that's another thing. Sometimes things get out of whack because I thought we could do that. I heard we could do that. We did it last year, right? So sometimes there's no malice. There's just lack of understanding or confusion. And again, these are things that could work better in small to medium sized shops, but in a large company, like that's a tough ask. I mean, usually, I'm in my silo, and these are the capabilities that I'm selling against, and that's it. I don't really know. I don't know people in that building, but I can see them from the window.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to shout out to all the nice people who are beta testing Greenhouse right now. I've already gotten some good user interface feedback. Let me explain it to you. The platform is really this API platform, but there's a Windows app, because I know how to still build Windows apps, even though everybody's saying, hey, where's the Mac version? Where's the iPhone version? But here's a little thing. When you're designing something, it turns out on high DPI, high resolution screens, particularly on laptops, Windows is telling you to magnify the screen by 150%. If you build the GUI at a different percentage of zoom, and then you run it on crazy zoom, anyway, long story short, it's bigger than the screen. And so thanks for that feedback. And so I'm fixing it. It's a good user experience, turns out.
I haven't started yet, but I had to get through this AutoX stuff, and
I'll send you an updated
dig into it. But yeah, that sounds good. But that makes sense.
I'm taking care of that whole thing today. Actually, started last night, so it'll be updated. Yeah, it's totally spaced. I didn't even think about it.
All right, more coffee.
Yeah.
On that note, you want to take us out? I think we're up.
We are up. Zoom's about to knock us out. Wow, what a great episode! Yes. I don't remember what we talked about. We talked about SIs, babies. We started out with babies, and it turns out that's kind of an important thing in this world, as it turns out. Who knew? So thank you so much for joining us on IoT Coffee Talk. You can visit us on the web at iotcoffeetalk.com. You can check us out on YouTube, watch all the videos, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and you can listen to us when you're out running or driving in your car on wherever you get your podcasts. And you know what? We're closing in on MWC. I know you saw a lot of us over at Distributech in San Diego, but now we're going to be making the leap over to MWC. We're going to hang out with Mark at IoT Stars. IoT
Mark
Stars.
Peligroso.
IoT Stars is the most important event that happens during the week for Mobile World Congress. So hopefully we'll see all of you that Monday night at this fabulous new venue. So anyway, thanks for being here.
Travels. Y'all have fun. Safe travels.
Bye.
We are out.
Report back.
See you.
Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.